Okay, so let's see what I can do. I've had to rewrite some of this stuff already. I've had to rejigger a couple of things. So we're going to have to use these offsets here. And I've rejiggered this line that I drew. This guy here, right? I've rejiggered him by changing what I'm doing. So this area size, there's a problem with that. And I found out when I tried to draw the sky. Now I'll show you what happened when I draw the sky here, and I'll show you how to do some of these scaling things. This is even better than what I had before because you'll have to worry in scaling now about both the offset and the scaling immediately, right? It's very strange for me that I have to worry about this, and the reason for that is I just got through a, I just got through a 4-month class where I used this, and I used some of these offset and functions and things like that, and I never ran into this problem. So it's very interesting. You have to keep on doing more new things to find out where you have logic errors sometimes. And this is the case. I drew a complete pool table in the middle of the screen, and I didn't have this problem that I just had, which was filling everything out. So you have to change things up from time to time. So if you are looking at this later on and there are issues here or there, things that don't work, that is going to be because I'm going to keep on working on these things. You see, game class is 095. Even though I've taught the class twice, this game class isn't really where I want it for for regular use. There are a couple of things that are still in a iffy condition. I guess the boilerplate is in a kind of iffy condition too, but I don't really like that. So here we are. This is what we've got. Good stuff for the lot of us. I've just thought of an even better thing to do here, but I'm not going to do it. I'll try to do it later on, and maybe I'll redo some of these things, but probably not. So here I've got this going on here. Now I want to draw these other 3 objects. The batter's box, home plate, and the pitcher's mound. All right, so let's just start with the batter's box. I think that's the easiest one. So we want our x0 point, this point here, to be the left-hand side of the screen, which is going to be equal to 0. Now, just for fun, I'll add in the x offset, right? And I'm ignoring the scaling factor. Now, the x offset is 0, and the scaling factor is not 0, but 0 is 0, so that we have 0 plus 0. So really this is all still 0. But probably something like this in some way is intellectually better, and if we add that, then we have the integer part of 0, which is still 0. Everybody loves 0. I think Pygame will get annoyed with you if you try to use a integer 0 when it wants to use a floating point 0. I think it might get annoyed at you. That's okay. I've had, professors who really didn't like vector zeros and scalar zeros being considered, more or less the same thing, and even though they all do the same thing. But that's not me. So each one of these coordinates you want to have at that integer part only, because if you tell somebody to go 6.4 pixels over, right, if you tell the computer to do that, the computer is not going to listen to you because it doesn't know what 0.4 pixels are, right? It's perfectly willing to do things, draw a line through 6 pixels, but that because you can find 6 individual pixels along the line. You can count those number of pixels, but you can't count 0.4 pixels. So you have to do this integer part stuff to make sure everything's happy. So let's just do that. All right, on top of that, we want y0. Now y0 is going to be just a little bit lower than this line here. And this line now has this LRC, which I'm saying is the lower right-hand corner. That has our y-coordinate as its y-coordinate. So we'll have LRC1, which is what we're using. Then we're going to step down some. So we use a 3-pixel line, right? So we want to go more than 1.52 pixels. We're going to have another line, so we want 1.52 pixels up there, maybe 1 pixel, 2 pixel, 5 pixels, however many up and down. So really we want some region in there that's greater than, say, 3. And 6 will probably give us enough. I'm going to go with 6. You could use 5, you could use 7, it doesn't matter. I mean, you just want to have a break between the two lines. And now we want a width. Now, width we've already said is going to be 6 feet. So let's just write 6.0 feet, multiply that by our scaling factor, and add in our offset. And we're done. And then I do the same thing for the height. The height, I just choose a point times SC. Actually, I don't need the offset because this isn't a point. This is how far right, and this is how far down to go. So those don't have offsets because their offset is the upper left-hand corner, x0, y0. Okay, so I needed all of these things to draw the box, right? And Pygame knows that that's what it needs to draw a box. So you use PG, draw rectangle. What sort of things does it need to know? Well, it still needs to know what to draw on the Pygame surface area. It needs to have a color. White will stick with white. It still needs these 2 points, or it needs the point x0, y0, and then the pair of instructions, how far left to go and how far down to go, or how far right to go and how far down to go. And it probably needs a width. I'll make it a width of 2. Let's see how much this hates me. And bang, it's right there. So I've got a little box down there at the bottom, which is exactly what I wanted. Right, I wanted this box under that line. So we're doing pretty good. With the rectangle, if you don't put the 2 there for the width, it's going to give you a full rectangle. Let's actually do that. So I can do that pretty easily. So why don't I draw the sky? I just told you I was going to draw the sky before, and I was doing it on a whim. And let's use a bluish color. Let's go to the game class and see what sort of colors I have here. I've got magenta, medium blue, Alice blue. Alice blue looks too bright. Dark cyan, dark blue. Let's use dark cyan. That sounds like a good color. And then we're going to need the upper left-hand corner of the plane area. That's what I'm going to want to have as part of the sky. That's off X, off Y. That's what the offset is. The offset is the off X, off Y, or the offset. That's the X and Y coordinate of the upper left-hand corner of the plane area. And then we need a width and a height, and it's that area size. So we're good with that. And then if we don't do that (3) or anything like that, and I press F5, I get this area here. So now you see I've got a bluey sort of background there for for contrast. It might not be enough contrast looking at that. Maybe I'll change it later on. We'll see after we get through the pitcher's mound, assuming I get through the pitcher's mound. Now I want to do the same thing now for the plate, right? So then I need to go inside a little bit this time, right? So that's int, right? The position is, I calculated 2.3 feet out from the edge. I need to scale that. The offset in the x direction is already scaled, so I just add in the offset in the x direction. You're going to do this a lot when you're drawing boxes and other things that are moving around. When you're animating things, you're going to have to worry about this similar format. You take a extension, you scale that up so that it's the right number in pixels, and then you add in some offset. And that offset can do a lot of things. It can do more than just what I'm doing here. But this is what I've got to work with. Why I need something up a little bit, but I don't want it to be as much as H0. I don't really even want it to be as tall as my pitcher's mound, which is less than 1 foot tall. So I'll do 0.5 just, because, and multiply by the scaling factor and add off y. The width, I've calculated out the width. I've got the width from Wikipedia. That's 1.4 feet, and that's multiplied by the scaling factor because anything that's in feet has to get turned into pixels, and that's what multiplying by the scale factor does. The height is this very same factor, 0.5 times SC. And then I just need another rectangle, and it can otherwise be all the same. Probably I don't want to. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, that didn't work out. Why didn't that work out? That didn't work out because I wanted it to be from the bottom, not from the top, right? So I'm not going from 0, which is up here, and adding on. I'm going from down here and subtracting off. All right. So that means I have to start with the lower LRC 1 here. LRC1 minus 0.5 times SC. And if I do that, actually, no, I don't need that offset. So let's see what I got. Okay, that's exactly what I have here, right? So this thing looks like that thing. And remember, scaling works. So how close can I get it? So that's pretty close, right? It doesn't have as fine drawing stuff as this PowerPoint presentation does. Maybe you don't care, right? Maybe you can't see the PowerPoint presentation because this is on YouTube. All right, so we've got this part done. We have one more thing to do, which is the mound. All right, and so for the mound, we're going to go through that entire thing again. In this case, it's LRC minus 0.83, right? And the height is twice 0.83, which is 1.66. And let's do 1.67. I like that better. Our width is 18 feet, right? And our position is, what did I say, 54.5 feet. So function F5. Oh, I didn't like one of my thingies. Somewhere I didn't get a thing. 87 here. Thinks I have too many parentheses. Maybe that's true. All right. So you see what I did is I ended up with this box here. I don't want a box. I want a arc, right? I want an arc of a ellipse. So I'll use arc. Does this have a draw ellipse? Let's see. If I draw the ellipse, oh, I get the ellipse there. So I've got the ellipse. That's not what I want. I want a part of that ellipse, which is the arc. All right. So instead of ellipse, I'll do arc. So for this, rather than the full ellipse, I want just a part of it. So after I've defined the rectangle that the ellipse is inscribed in, which is what that original rectangle that I drew for this was, I want to have two angles. One is the starting angle, and I'll start at 0.0, and I want the final angle, and that's going to be the angle in radians, and I want to go 180 degrees, which in radians is pi, which is what? Sine, cosine, 3.14159. I watched that episode of Third Rock from the Sun 2. There it is, and I can already tell that I want this to be bigger, and then I go F5, and there I have it. I've got something right there for you that looks sort of like a baseball field. I don't like that dark cyan. Let's see if I don't have much time. Let's see if dark blue is any better. Yeah, that's better. I like that better. You'll see this if you do these curves with Pygame. The drawings of the curves don't look very good. There's a trick around it. I'll show you later. That's about it, right? We scale it down. We can make it nice and small and look more like this thing that I drew here.